Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Global Kids virtual panel, Life Under COVID-19, where we're going to feature three outstanding Global Kids leaders at a panel which will also be moderated by our board chair, Richard Roberts. My name is Evie Hansopoulos, and I'd like to welcome you here today. Thank you for tuning in. Obviously, this is a very difficult time for so many of us. We are concerned about our family, our friends, our coworkers, our communities, and our world, and of course, our young people. So we thought it would be important to have this panel here today to give them an opportunity to share their views, their perspectives, and their experiences as we deal with this crisis. We're going to get to that in a minute, but first I just wanted to give you a quick update on what's going on here at Global Kids. We are open, even though our offices in DC and New York City are closed. We have translated all of our engaging in-person programming to an online environment very successfully, thanks to our incredibly talented, creative, and thoughtful staff. We also have many staff who are going to support the regional enrichment centers that the Department of Education has set up for the children of first responders and essential workers. So I'm really grateful to all of the Global Kids staff for helping us make this transition go as smoothly as could be expected. I'd like to hand it over now to our board chair, Richard Roberts, who will introduce you to our young people and take us through a series of questions so we can get to learn more about what they are experiencing. There will be an opportunity for you to chat us any questions. So if you are on Facebook, just enter those questions into the comments and we'll get to those later in the program. And so with that, I'd like to hand it over to Richard Roberts.
Evie, thank you very much. He's got me muted. Okay, thank you, Evie, very much for that introduction. And we are extremely excited to get the perspectives of some of the young people associated with our program. And I also, as the board chair, want to thank Evie and the entire Global Kids staff for all that they're doing to try to continue to provide our excellent programming and services to the young people that we work with. I am joined by three excellent Global Kids leaders. I'm going to ask them each of them to introduce themselves. I'd like them to give you their full name, their ages, their grades, the grade that they're currently enrolled in, the school they're enrolled in, where they live, and what their recent involvement has been with Global Kids. And they're going to try to do that very quickly and give you some sense as to their involvement with the program. So first, let's hear from Jillian, and then Laetitia, and then Abdullah. So Jillian, can you start us off?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jillian Lewis. I'm a 17-year-old senior at Notre Dame School in Manhattan. I live in Orange, New Jersey, and I'm active in conference planning and citywide leadership.
Laetitia?
Hi, everybody. My name is Laetitia Brutus. I'm 16. I go to high school for public service, and I live in Canarsie, and the school that I go to is in Brooklyn. And I've been active in Global Kids Census Squad.
Great. Abdullah?
Hello, everyone. My name is Abdullah Mazumder. I'm 18 years old, and I'm a senior at William Cullen Bryant High School. I live in Jackson Heights, Queens, and I've been involved in the College and Career Readiness Program and the Human Rights Activist Project of Global Kids in my school.
So, Abdullah, I'm going to keep it with you. So, what's this all been like since school is shut down? I mean, it must just be a complete change for you. Tell us what your life's like.
School closing down was actually a very big surprise because of all the things that we've heard that DOE schools, like public schools, would not close down because students need their meals. So we never expected actually school to close down. So school closing down like this was absolutely a shock. And then we were very uncertain how online learning would actually work. So far, it's been going okay. Our school had a pretty robust system in place, and so far we've been transitioning to online learning pretty well and pretty fast. even though this
good.
was a huge shock for us, we're still going good.
Yeah, good. And Laetitia, what about you?
It was unexpected to see how our lives changed within a matter of months because we didn't think that this was gonna be so serious and that everybody's lives would be affected. For me, I know it was I was affected, and my family and friends have been affected from this as well. Because going through online learning, it's not really like that helpful for us because the teachers, they help us, but we don't get the amount of learning that we would get in the classroom setting. And we all prefer learning in a setting where we have everybody here, like, because in 1 month we didn't know that we would be at home in front of a computer learning rather than being outside, and to see like so many people die, so it wasn't expected for us.
Yeah. And Jillian, how about you? And what's it been like for you? And tell us a little bit also about your social life. Like you were, if you've had friends and family that you spent a lot of time with, and not just talk about the school, but talk about school and then your social life and how that's been affected.
Definitely. Similar to Abdullah, my school has kind of transitioned pretty seamlessly into online learning, so I'm like happy for that. But my social interactions have definitely changed. I went from seeing my friends every day for like 10 hours a day to like not seeing them at all. So I've been, using my phone a lot more, calling my friends. My dad is actually a bus driver for the MTA, and he lives in New York, and I haven't seen him since like Corona started. So that's definitely thrown it off a little bit, like thrown off my social interactions, like not seeing my family members as much as I used to. But definitely I'm still in contact with people, but just like the not having the physical interactions with them is like a very big change for me.
Right. So Laetitia, have you been out of your apartment? And if you've been out, what have you gone to do? Have you been to the store? Have you been to the pharmacy? What have you gone out to do?
Yes, I've been out with my mom to go grocery shopping with her, and that's the only time I've went out. And as I went outside, there's like a major change in the setting, especially around my neighborhood, because there's been a ton of people that have died where I live. Everywhere that I go, people are scared of each other, and on the bus especially, even though they say to keep distance, there's still a lot of people on the bus, and I feel that that's what's making it even worse. And even when we go to the supermarkets, everybody has to keep 6 feet between each other, and some people, they don't follow that rule. And also, like when I go out with my mom, also we have to wear a bunch of masks and stuff to protect ourselves, which is very traumatic for me because this is the first time I've experienced this.
Yeah, it's different. And Abdullah, how about you? Have you been out, and what have you done when you've been out?
I've been out I haven't been out that much. I've been out only 3 times around to mostly buy groceries, and that also in bulk. And what I've been seeing around in my community is that a lot of people, at least in my community, haven't been paying much attention to any of the safety protocols that need to be taken. For example, like keeping 6 feet apart, wearing masks. In my community, like there's not a lot of people you see outside wearing masks, and especially like the distancing. It's almost, there are certainly less people outside, but whoever is outside is like completely, they seem to be completely ignorant to all of the health safety protocols that are set in place. Even the stores and everything, the stores are making a better effort by letting limited amount of people in so that it's easier to like keep a social distance. But that also creates another problem, that there are huge lines of people right outside the store that extends up to like blocks. And having all these people in a line is also another safety hazard as well. And most of them are not even wearing masks.
Right. And do you have family members who have to go out for work, like Jillian and Laetitia? I mean, Laetitia, your mom, as I understand it, has to go out and work. She's in healthcare. Jillian's dad is a bus driver. That's obviously an essential worker. How about in your family? Do you have family members that have to go out, work, and are you worried about them?
The only person in my family who has to go out to work is my dad. He works at LaGuardia Airport. As so far, I haven't been that much worried about him because his due to like this outbreak, his the what do you call it? The company that he works for there has been taking steps to like limit hours and like try to keep people at home with their families as much as they can. So the shifts have been broken down into smaller shifts and like diversified a lot more among the employees. So my dad usually goes out to work 3 days a week for like a very short amount of time. And also like the airport is taking steps to like keep them protected. They're like giving out gloves and masks over there at the airport for every employee to keep themselves safe.
Right.
So I feel like my dad is doing okay.
Good. And so you mentioned that you don't think people in your community are taking it seriously enough. Laetitia sees a lot of people in her community who are affected by it. Jillian, what are you seeing? Where in New Jersey are you, and what are you seeing out in New Jersey as you look out onto the streets and so forth?
I live in the suburbs, so I see a lot of people like jogging and riding their bikes and stuff like during the day when the weather's nice. But when I go into like the town square or whatever, there's like, it's a college town, Seton Hall is nearby. So there's like a grocery store, Walgreens. And whenever I go in like down to the town, basically, there's quite a bit of people there, but everyone really keeps their distance. You see a lot of people walking around with masks, taking precautions. Hand sanitizer is sold out everywhere. Soap is sold out everywhere. But overall, like you see people like keeping their distance, still being friendly, but like still taking precautions to keep themselves safe.
Right. Thank you. Have you guys been following the politics of all this, or the government response to all of this, and kind of, they're now, I know for Laetitia and for Abdullah, there now is this issue of, are the schools closed? Are they not closed? This whole back and forth between the governor and the mayor of New York. Are you, how are you assessing, one, the information that you've received from government elected officials, and do you feel like they're doing enough to impact and to solve this crisis? And why don't we start with Laetitia and then hear from Abdullah and Jillian?
Overall, I haven't.
We're losing you.
Overall, I've watched the news and what the politicians are doing, but I don't really watch it that much, so I don't get depressed or so I don't have to worry that much about it. But I know in New York City, the governor and the mayor are having some sort of like disagreement of how things should be run, but because the mayor wants schools to be closed throughout the whole academic year, whereas the governor disagrees with that. And I feel that they're not really instead of arguing, they should be working together to try to fix these situations, because there's major places where people are dying and their families are not able to do anything. And that also, I know that the government is sending out money to families in need. And I feel like that's really good for people that are out of work or out of employment. But there's some families also that won't receive money, or there's homeless people still out on the streets, especially on the trains. And that's going to have a major effect, because they're the ones that might be able to spread the disease to other people as well.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And Jillian, what do you think about what's going on with the government and the response? I mean, you've got a different situation because you've got a couple of people who are governing, what's going on at school, and then you've got people that are impacting, what's going on out there in New Jersey.
Yeah, kind of the same as what Laetitia said. Like, I kind of wish like these different governing bodies would work together, because it's all the same situation. It's not like it's a different coronavirus in upstate New York as it is in New Jersey. Like, it's all the same. Like, we're all dealing with the same thing. So I kind of wish it was less chaotic and less weaponized as like a political thing. I wish it was just more like, we need to get this like fixed for the people. But like, definitely, especially like with news and stuff, like finding credible news sources, but also like limiting how much news I intake, so I'm not like overwhelmed by it, it's definitely a challenge.
Right. And how about you, Abdullah? What do you think?
So far, like what I've been seeing in the news is that the government is taking various steps to prevent the spread of this disease and also hopefully like contain it and quarantine it as much as possible. But agreeing, like adding on to what both of them said, this like every response to this outbreak has like more than two sides to it. Like every project proposed idea to help the people has to go through so many different layers of approval, which I don't think should be happening right now. For example, if somebody comes up with one plan to help homeless people get off the streets and find a place to stay for now, that's going to go through so much scrutiny and just a lot of what do you call it, observation, a lot of scrutiny before it actually gets passed, and I think that slows down a response time way too much.
Right. And do you think there's a specific role that that young people, and in particular global kids, can play in this process? I mean, one of the things, for example, was that it was very clear that young people, I guess, because sometimes I think young people have a misconception of immortality. They're gonna live forever, and then there was some misconception out there that the disease was just tantamount to a common cold or the flu. So people weren't taking it seriously. Do you think that there's more that young people could be doing, and as a result, weren't taking the social distancing, guidance as seriously as others? Do you think that there's something specific that young people can do, and then specifically global kids can do in order to, deal with the threat of this disease?
Yeah, definitely. Like young people, like what we can do is what we've always been doing in Global Kids is that raising our voice to raise awareness and advocate for different circumstances and any inequalities we see in society. So as like a Global Kids, as a student of Global, as a member of Global Kids, I think young people should all like definitely take steps forward to get people more aware that this isn't something that's going to just go away and like you can move on. This is something we actually need to know about. Like every person, I know it may be hard, I know it may be like stressful to like dig in too deep into all this, but I think it's necessary for everybody to know like the core fundamentals of what's going on right now.
Right. And Laetitia and Jillian, what do you think about the role that young people have to play in this? Jillian, what about you first?
Yeah, similar to what Abdullah said, I feel like as young people, our voices tend to be like stomped down on, like we're not taken seriously. But like obviously we can use social media to like get in contact with our friends, and like as we learn information from like credible sources and stuff, we can spread that to our friends and they can spread that to their families. So just like passing on like good ideas, good thoughts and stuff. And also like at least for me, like I know my family has like a group chat and they'll send like these weird like chain messages about like, oh, if you boil lemons in oranges in water and you breathe it in, you can't get corona. And it's like, no, like debunking like these like facts or these ideas that people are like spreading around, like spreading misinformation. So definitely like young people using our knowledge and use of the internet to like stop the spread of misinformation.
Yeah. How about you, Laetitia? What do you think?
I agree with both Abdullah and Jillian. I agree that we should spread awareness to not just our friends, but to other people as well, because there are people that are taking this thing for granted. And just like Abdullah said that they think that, it's going to end in a couple of months. It's not, because we're still going to be affected by it. Even as history is passing by, we're still going to remember all the tragedies and like people, their lives that were lost. And I feel like if we spread more awareness through social media, and it's just like one person can make a difference, but a whole lot of other people can make a huge difference as well. And if we do that, then all these challenges and tough times wouldn't happen. And also, we wouldn't have to see so many people dying, because I know for me, I just lost a neighbor that is right next to my house. And I feel that, and she had a son that was in college, that just went to college. So I know that he's affected by it as well. So if we all step up and put our hands together, then we can get through this, and like all these challenges will pass by, even though like we might remember it in a couple of years, 10 years, we'll still remember it, but we'll know that we got through this together.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And I think the other point about all this is that you guys are doing a great service now by just participating in this event and getting, your voice out in terms of people that are listening and watching, and where this gets, sent and redistributed. I think it makes a very big impact. So you guys should be very happy with what you're doing here. All of you are very involved in Global Kids during the normal school year and in normal times. So what's going on now? What specifically are you guys doing with Global Kids now? How are you engaged? What are you doing on a daily basis or a weekly basis in terms of staying engaged with Global Kids? And how is that going? Why don't we start with Jillian?
So I am involved in 2 programs with Global Kids: citywide leadership and conference planning. So conference planning, Global Kids has like an annual conference that we put on. So the conference planners will come up with the topic, with the subtopics, and then create workshops on those subtopics. So this year it was supposed to be gender equity, but the conference was supposed to be last Wednesday and had to be canceled. So we're still working and doing online like meets and stuff, like Zoom calls and stuff, to kind of figure out how to facilitate an online version of the conference. So all of the work that we've been doing all year doesn't like just go to waste. And also with citywide leadership, we're working on advocacy projects around criminal justice reform. So I'm writing a letter to the mayor and police commissioner about fair evasion arrest and stuff. So I'm still working on that and still working closely with my trainers to like get those projects done. So we're not letting Corona and everything that's going on stop us from doing what we were doing before.
So let's unpeel both those topics just a little bit, and then we'll hear from the others. So a conference about gender equity is about what? It's about men and women getting paid differently? Is it civil rights issues related to the application of laws? Is it just the United States? Is it global? Tell me a little bit about what type of issues you're getting into with that.
Well, it's a variation of things, and Abdullah can speak to it as well because he's a conference planner. But with the term gender equity, we're talking about the inequalities that women face around the world. So in health, representation in law, education, housing, obviously like the pay difference, but there are different things that go into gender equity, and we wanted to showcase and basically like bring up these topics that are generally not talked about in like mainstream media. So I was facilitating a workshop on inequalities in global women's health. So we were talking about like obviously like the pink tax, like how women's products cost more, or like different like procedures that women have in like other countries typically harmful to them, and that can cause it's just bringing awareness to stuff like that are generally not taught in school.
Okay. And Abdullah, I'll just switch to you very quickly. So are you still engaged in conference planning as well? And are there other issues that you're looking at that are relevant to the ones that Jillian are looking at? And Jillian, I'm going to come back to you because I want to talk about fair evasion.
Yes. What do you call it? I've also been a part of conference planning, and what my team has been working on was gender inequality. We were focusing on the gender inequality in education specifically, to talk about how women are suffering through inequality in education, how some countries still have laws and regulations that deter women from pursuing education, and there are so many social misconceptions on why women should not even pursue education.
Yeah.
So we were bringing that up. You guys
are still working.
Now that
you're still working on that. You're still working on that.
Yeah, we're still working on that. Now that the conference been canceled, now we're working more on how to break down our workshop into something. So we've been working on a way to break down our workshop into something that can be properly expressed in an online room.
Right. Okay. Great. And then Jillian, fare evasion as a topic to work on? I mean, you know, a lot of people say, hey, pay your fare, right? That's everybody should pay the fare, right? So, but it's not as simple as that, is it?
No. Well, in Citywide Leadership, we were talking about criminal justice reform as a whole, and we kind of like broke down like topics and did like mind maps and stuff, and then we all kind of figured out like something that we were passionate.
So what's a mind map?
A mind map is like you have like a big topic, and then you break down and you branch off like ideas that come to mind when you think of it. So when I thought of criminal justice reform, I thought of poverty, and I thought of fare evasion and stuff like that, and like policing poverty basically. So my action project is to write a letter to the police commissioner and the mayor about how fare evasion arrests unfairly target Black and Hispanic neighborhoods that are generally low income or have like higher police presence.
Yeah. So it's not that fare evasion is necessarily something that we should tolerate. It's that we should apply the law fairly, you know, across the city and not disproportionately target specific neighborhoods, right? Okay, that's or communities. That's great. And then Laetitia, tell us what you've been involved in and working on. I got to have a suspicion that it's something that we want to talk about.
So I've been a part of the Global Kids Census Squad, and we started working on that. We started working on it, and I know there's a ton of Global Kids members that were looking forward to it, going out into the community and telling people about what the census is. And basically, the census is what happens every 10 years. It's a head count of everybody in your community or in your household. And we basically do this to get better schools, hospitals, and get better roads, because there are many in our communities. There's many places that are undercounted, and we want to be able to get a higher count of everybody to get all these actions taken and done. And so basically, although these challenges, although that we've been facing challenges throughout these times because of Corona, we've still kept in touch with our Global Kids leaders and members as well. And also we've made videos to raise awareness to many people about why they should do it. And there's other members that made videos. I know there's a girl that made another Global Kids member that made a video about what the census is and how you can get counted. Even if you don't speak English, there's tons of other options that you could choose from that basically you'll be able to sign the census and get counted.
Yeah, and it's very important, right? Because what people don't realize is that resources that come from the federal government, money and services, and also representation in Congress and in other places, is dictated by population. And so if your population is underreported, right, then you get less money and you have less representation, and you don't have enough to really support the needs and the services that are really required in your local community. And so it's important to get an accurate count, to not discriminate based upon citizenship status and a variety of other things that are important that people need to recognize should not prohibit them from going ahead and answering the questions that the census puts out there. So it's extremely important, correct?
Yes.
Great. So we have, on that note, right, I think, Evie, we have some information about our census squad and Global Kids work with the census that we'd like to get out there, right?
Yeah, we do. I think we're going to cue that up. Like Laetitia had said, a lot of our students have been really creative in terms of how they translate their census work to an online digital environment. So we want to show you some very short video clips of our students to educate the public on the census. So whenever Sebastian, who's behind the scenes, is ready, we'll roll.
Our producer. He's our producer.
Yes, you
Our
know,
producer. Yes, we're big time. We are big time now.
we are.
We got a producer.
We
Okay,
do.
let's go. Tee it up.
Hey y'all, my name is Gabby.
And I'm Angelina.
And we're part of the Global Kids Census Squad. We're here today to inform you that the census is live and online now.
Don't forget to count everybody in your household: mom, dad, aunts, uncles, cousins, brothers and sisters, and most importantly, your babies.
Don't forget the babies.
If you do not count them, we can lose money and also lose congressional representation. So, go fill out your census! Woo!
Hey guys, did you know when our communities are undercounted, we receive a small portion of federal funding for things like hospitals, Medicaid, affordable housing, and public transportation? We also lose representation in Congress. In 2010, New York State was undercounted and we lost 2 congressional seats as a result. We remain undercounted, underfunded, and underrepresented for 10 years.
My name is Gabby and I'm part of the Global Kids Census Squad. If you were wondering, no, the 2020 census will not ask you for your social security number or your immigration status.
So that was her mood after she filled the census out. That's my mood most of the time. So I'm always looking to get into that mood. So I'm going to fill out my census, and I don't have any here, but if I had one here, I would not forget about the baby. So don't forget about the babies. That's the moral of that story. So, okay. So back to the panel now. We've looked at everybody stayed engaged with Global Kids. I got a couple last questions before we take some questions from our chat feature. So are you guys going to be, just fast forward when this is all over, do you guys think you'll be fearful about going back out? Anybody can answer that.
I honestly don't think I would be fearful about going back outside because I don't think everyone has it, but I just feel like I would take a little bit like more precautions. Like I wouldn't like automatically go hug up on my friend the minute I go see her. Like I will be like, hey, how are you? You know, like I'll still maintain a little bit of social distancing, but I'd still.
Yeah. And you're a senior, right?
Yes, I am.
So both you and Abdullah, who's a senior, can speak a little bit to how this has impacted your college process, which I think has been, it must be weird if, for lack of any other term, right? The ability to visit places and all that kind of stuff has presumably been, really been short-circuited by all of this, correct?
Yeah.
I've already chosen my college, so my college process is basically over.
Oh, so are you going to do a big reveal? Where are you going?
Rutgers.
Hey.
That's what we're talking about. Hey, all right, mood. All right, now, and then what about you, Abdullah? What about your process?
I feel like I'm one of the few unfortunate ones who's been affected by, who's had my college application has been affected, like especially like the CUNY application. So I applied to 6 CUNYs and a few private and SUNY schools. But the CUNY application, the thing is, they received my transcripts late, and they received it after all the CUNYs shut down.
So there's nobody even in the office right to deal with it, correct? Yeah.
Since the employees are working from home, yeah, and since they're working from home, I emailed them and they told me that my transcripts would be evaluated, but like it would take a lot more time since everybody's working from home. And I'm like, yeah, I received everything from all my privates and SUNYs, but I'm just waiting on my CUNYs now.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, good luck with that. Laetitia, are you glad that you've had Global Kids to kind of fall back on in this, with all this going on? I mean, is it good that this has played a role in your life now that we've gotten to this point?
Sort of. I'm glad that I've been a part of Global Kids and doing all these activities, because I know that if I wasn't a part of it, I wouldn't be able to be a part of a wonderful community with like a bunch of other wonderful members as well, because we've been taking so many actions to help out our community. And I've also learned quite a lot as a sophomore. I learned in regular school as well, but throughout Global Kids, I've learned about what's happening not only in my community, but also the world around me, and how, and what steps I can take to help out as I'm growing up and getting through these things, how I can make a change, but how others can make a change as well. So I'm glad.
Great. Yeah, so that's good. So, Evie, do we want to, we're coming up on the time where we wanted to take some questions out of the chat. Should we do that? And then, depending upon how it goes, I may have more questions for our panel. But do we have any questions or anybody that's interested in hearing more from us, or from a different topic, or from something we've already discussed?
We do. We have a few questions here, and I encourage everybody to just, if you're on Facebook, just put them in the Facebook's comment section. But there's a few. First one, there was a list, someone who's viewing who just wanted to once again hear from what communities you live in. So Laetitia, just for the people that are watching that might have tuned in late, Laetitia lives in Canarsie, Brooklyn. Abdullah lives in Jackson Heights, not too far from Elmhurst Hospital. And Jillian right now is in Orange, New Jersey, right? But had lived in New York City. So that's where our young people live. That was to Stell. But for the
and Evie, just so people understand, I mean, Elmhurst Hospital has been really kind of the original hospital that managed and dealt with a number of cases right at the outset, and has continued to do so. I mean, it really was I hesitate to use ground zero, because that's a different term associated with a different crisis, but it really was kind of a focal point of the coronavirus response from a medical care standpoint when this first started.
I mean, Abdullah, has that kind of been the talk amongst the people within your community, just about how you're really so close to Elmhurst and what's happening there?
Yeah, people in my area, the people I know around me, we've all everybody's been somewhat they haven't addressed it completely out front, but everybody's thinking about it. Like the people that are at Elmhurst Hospital, I live really close to the hospital. It's 10 minutes away from me, and I've heard from people. I know some people who work there, and I've heard from people over there that work there that the situation at the hospital is really bad, and there's so many patients that need care. There are even patients who aren't affected by the coronavirus, but they still need some form of care, and the hospital just can't accommodate all these people. People are prioritizing the coronavirus outbreak is such a big thing there that other people who need regular care aren't receiving that regular care that they need. So the situation seems pretty bad there, and I honestly feel I feel sorry for the people who need the care right now.
Thank you. All right, well, here's some questions. The first one is from Amanda, and it's asking, how is the crisis impacting your summer job plans? I don't know who wants to take that. Jillian, you wanna take that?
Sure. I don't have a summer job plan, so it hasn't really impacted me. But I know that a couple of my friends have tried to do like SYEP, and there have been some problems with that. So
And and just so everybody knows, that's the Summer Youth Employment Program, correct? That New York City runs, correct? Okay, please.
so I've heard that there's like been some problems with that. So I hope that all gets squared away. But personally, I don't have any summer jobs.
Um,
Right.
I had a summer plan, like which was actually being part of the being part of like the Summer Youth Employment Program, and there was a special program that the Summer Youth Employment Program is it's basically based on a lottery on who gets a job, but they have a separate thing where if you can get nominated by an eligible organization, and that would basically guarantee you a spot there. And I was nominated. I filled out my application, and I thought I had a good summer plan ready. But apparently, the Summer Youth Employment Program's been canceled this year, and like we all received like the official email that it's been officially canceled for this summer. So for now, I have no plans.
That's
So
correct.
you're still looking. So you're open for business, so to speak. So if someone wants to step up and offer a job, you're all ears.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's correct. Global Kids actually had an SYEP contract, and we actually had several programs running at different schools throughout the city. And we were informed last week that the funding has been cut. So that's really the first budget cut that we've experienced as an organization as a result of this crisis. And unfortunately for young people like Abdullah, who wanted to work this summer and earn money for college, for expenses to help support their families, that opportunity isn't going to be there. So hopefully we can find something for you, Abdullah, but it's going to be, it's unfortunate that the program was cut, but we're fighting it. Maybe something can be brought back. I have another question here from Kari.
Okay.
Who is, we've partnered with her on the Radio Rookies program at WNYC. And Kari wants to know, what do young people need most from the adults and the adult leaders in their lives? So what is it that you all want from the adults in your lives, and also, any adult that's out there in a position of leadership?
I'll go. I think what we need from the adults in our life and our household at least is a sort of understanding. Like, of course, like we want to interact with everyone around us as much as possible right now, since we aren't getting to do that with our friends outside, our family outside of our homes. And also like this understanding that we might be cooped up in our rooms all day. We might like sometimes not act normally, and we might like we might be like, there may be a lot of students suffering from some like anxiety and depression, and they might be down because of all this outbreak. Since they don't have their friends and like any of their like social, like any people in their social society to help them out anymore. So just like an understanding from the adults in our household and life would go a really long way for somebody's mental health.
Yeah, I want to speak for like the senior class, like the high school seniors, the college seniors. For me, I would like some like emotional support from like the adults in my family. So graduation, prom, senior stuff that I was looking forward to for like the past 4 years may not happen. And I'm obviously upset about it. Like, you look forward to your graduation, you want to graduate with your friends. And a lot of times, like when I talk to like my grandma or my dad about it, they're like, oh, well, it's just a graduation, it's just a piece of paper, like it's fine. But it's like, no, this is like a monumental moment for me. Like, I would want some compassion. So I think from like adult leaders in our lives, or adults in our families at least, like just like support and compassion about like the times that we're like living in, and like how we may be feeling about it.
Yeah. How about you, Laetitia?
I agree with what everybody said about needing support and understanding, because I understand like this is a really challenging time for us, and I like especially for the seniors that were looking forward to, because they spent all their 4 years of high school waiting for that special moment to walk across the stage and graduate. And I know that they were waiting a lot for that, and I feel that teachers should like offer support for them, because they're going through challenges as well. and also they should be understanding and try to help us out a little more, because this is the first time us as teenagers had to go through this, because we never went through this in our lives. And then to see something happen so quick and how our lives have changed so fast within a month, I feel like we need that support. And I feel that the seniors, especially, they're going to get through this. Even like I'm not a senior, I'm a sophomore, but I feel like they're going to get through this, even though I know that even though they might not graduate in June or whenever they graduate, but there should be some time where they get to graduate, they get to experience that special moment in their lives.
Thank you. I have another question. Can I put that out there, Richard?
Yes, and I have one as well.
Okay, great. So this is from Annie, asking the three of you, what are you doing to keep yourselves physically and mentally healthy and balanced during this crisis? And what advice would you give to others?
I'm personally baking a lot. I've made a baguette, I've made beignets, I've been cooking. I've been doing things that like I didn't have the chance to do when I was in school. So like I'm reading a lot more books that like aren't English class mandated. I've been talking to my mom a lot more. We've been having a lot more like conversations that weren't just like, hey, how are you? Like we're having conversations like, oh, what do you think about this book or about what was like this music, and we like share music and stuff. I've also been going on walks. I do like yoga before I go to sleep and when I wake up in the morning. And I'm also gonna start like going on runs with my mom. So I've been trying to like stay like sane by like doing like fun things and like keeping my body active.
See, physically, I've been every day, like my gym, we have assignments and stuff. Basically, and eventually for gym, we have to work out, and it's not like any of my teachers aren't telling me to record anything, but they're motivating me through words. They write a like nice description about. They make it easier to work out. Like to people who aren't in the habit of working out, they make it easier by like saying 5 minutes a day to 10 minutes. So like do something, do something to keep ourselves like physically active. So this and Global Kids by having this we have this program every Friday called Fridays with Friends, where all the all of our friends from we have various activities, breathing exercises, and we play games and have fun together just to take our minds off of what's happening all around us, and that goes a long way for our mental health.
How about you, Laetitia? Anything you're doing special?
Yes, like I've been working out and I've been reading a lot of more books, even though I usually read a lot. I've been learning other languages and try to just like Jillian said, keep myself like sane, reading more and watching more shows that are going to help me out, and writing more songs and practicing singing and poetry. I've also talked to my mom because I know that when school usually happens, I usually wake up early in the morning and leave her, and then like after that I won't see her because she goes to work. But now like I'm at home, and when she comes home from work, I get to see her more often now, and I get to talk to her even more, even if I'm not feeling well. If I want to talk about the situation that's happening, I can go to her and talk to her about it because it's comfortable.
That's great. Thank you. I have a question. It comes from Adam in Manhattan. He wants to know if there's anything actually better about online learning as opposed to what you guys normally experienced in the classroom. Any aspect of it, I know everybody likes to focus on the things that are bad about it. Is there anything that's actually better about it that you guys have seen?
I like not having to ask to go to the bathroom. Like I just feel like I have more like personal freedom now. But honestly, like a good thing about online learning, I feel like I've gained a newer sense of like time management, because like at least for me, like I have a schedule of like when my classes happen online. So I can't just sleep until 12 o'clock. I have a class at 9 o'clock. So I have to, wake myself up, get my work done, and make sure that I'm like scheduling my time
Right.
in like in a very useful manner. So I think a good thing that came out of online learning is like me learning how to discipline myself and manage my time.
Right.
One thing I feel like, which is which I'm feeling good about online learning, is that online learning, for me at least, I don't have a specific class that I have to be up at for a specific time. We get assignments and instructional videos on Google Classroom, and they're due anytime. They're due probably most of the time they're due the next day or that day at 12 a.m. So I have the freedom to do it whenever I want to, which
Right.
I feel good about.
Right. How about you, Laetitia? Anything better about it?
There's not a huge difference per se, because everything is sort of similar to what happens in the classroom. There's some classes where I don't have to quickly get up and go on my laptop for, but I guess it's kind of good that like there's certain things that we can do at home. We have more time to do work. And if the teacher assigns work, then we can give it in the next day and not give because usually in my class, so for some classes, we have 25 minutes or 30 minutes to do work and then give it to the teacher done. But now we have time to send it in on Google Classroom. About maybe if the teacher assigns work on Monday, we can send it in on Friday. So that's one good thing that came out of it.
Great. Evie, we have a wonderful producer, and maybe it was because the on-air talent wasn't listening, but we're supposed to do our closing remarks now. I don't know who's supposed to do that. Am I supposed to do that? Or are you supposed to do that?
I think
How are we supposed to handle that?
I think we have time for one more question. We have.
You want to do one more question? Oh,
yeah,
so you
because
are.
I think it's well. There's good ones actually. Now they're coming in. They're coming in. So
so now you're okay. Good.
Sorry,
okay,
I'm taking over.
You're taking over. I see that. I see that. Luckily, it's virtual, so you can't just punch me. But I'll act like I just got punched and moved over to the side. Oh, there we go. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. But I think it's a question that has to do with fear and xenophobia. We saw many people who are Asian being attacked as a result of, being blamed for this crisis. And so Stephanie asks, what's your advice for young people, or I would say adults as well, who may become xenophobic during or after this crisis? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? What would you want to say to folks who might start kind of, start scapegoating?
I don't think we should. I don't think that any one person is to blame for a virus that everyone is being affected by. Like, there's no FOMO in this. Everyone is being affected by it, regardless of your race, your gender, ethnicity, anything. Like, everyone is experiencing this together. So you can't scapegoat like a health issue onto someone else. But with xenophobia, if you're ever encountering it, like, and you're comfortable with the person, just be like, hey, you shouldn't, you can't say stuff like that. Like, it's rude and it's wrong. And just pass on like the correct information, and like don't perpetuate the same, like the ideas that are hurtful.
Exactly. Adding on to what Jillian said, I feel like the best action that should be taken to combat xenophobia is to spread the right information. That the information such as like a global health crisis doesn't have anything to do with a person's race, like ethnicity, background, or whatever. Like, that does not matter. This is like a global health emergency that's this outbreak is affecting people around the world. So like being prejudiced or like fearful of one specific race, of one specific ethnicity, or like a group of people, this like shouldn't make sense. I think that's the logic that should be spread around among the people to like combat xenophobia.
I agree, and I don't think that this should give people an opportunity to be racist towards one another. I feel that we should be working together and like putting our heads together and not fighting each other, because we're all going through the challenges. And I know like it's hard for us all, but we shouldn't fight other people for things that are happening. And also that there's so many videos going around where I've seen like a little child that he got stabbed in the head. He's Asian. Him and his family members got stabbed in the head because they were Asian, and this Hispanic man thought that, oh, they were gonna spread it, so that gave him an opportunity to do that to the child. And especially a child that age shouldn't have to go through that, shouldn't have to experience going to the hospital, being stabbed by someone going through these challenges. And I feel that a virus or whatever disease should not let people be racist or xenophobic towards one another.
Thank you. All right, and this is the final, you're gonna kind of take us out, the final question, and you're gonna answer this in 30 seconds or less, okay? And that really is, what do you wanna see happen after this is over? And what's the work that you're gonna do? So in other words, what's the change that you want to see? What would you like to see, the world look like as we come out of this? And what's the work that you're going to do? 30 seconds or less, because we have 1 minute. Actually, 15 seconds or less.
I want society to protect its most vulnerable. I would hope to see more social safety nets, more welfare programs come out of this, workers protection, tenant protection, and just support of those who need it most, and not just turn to a global pandemic to make us realize, oh, we need this stuff.
I feel like we should after this, we should protect our communities and take more actions to prevent these sort of things from happening. And by doing that, the virus or any other disease wouldn't be affecting us as much anymore. So everybody working together to make sure the environment and things around us stay clean.
Thank you. Abdullah?
I thought we had 15 seconds. So I agree with what Jillian and Laetitia said, but also another thing I would like to focus on is that this outbreak, I believe, has brought out a lot of things that we're advocating for, like especially on the environmental and climate sections, that we've been uncovering a lot of things that how like this outbreak, like people staying inside has like reduced emissions and how it's like affecting the wildlife and the global temperatures in different places. And I think this should be new information that should be brought up even after the outbreak. Like we can I don't think this information, like these changes that we're seeing with the wildlife, I don't want these to be forgotten. I want them to be like used as like ammunition to push for further legislation cutting emissions.
Thank you. All right, Richard, it's 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. So we're gonna sign off now, but we do want to end our session here with two things. One, we'd like to thank our tremendous young people for being involved. We'd like to thank our very effective Global Kids staff, Alan and Sebastian, for supporting us and helping us get this up and running. And then finally, we would like to urge all people who are watching this or who ultimately see this to be supportive of Global Kids. The work that we do is so important to helping young people become engaged, remain engaged, and it's particularly important for a time like we're living in now, where it looks like so many sources of our support are going to be under threat, and we're going to go through a difficult period. So we urge everyone to go to donate.globalkids.org. Again, that's donate.globalkids.org, and support us because we need it now more than ever. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night and stay safe.
Thank you.